Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not so bad, lovey. It's Sunday. It's 10 o'clock in London, so that must mean it's 5 o'clock in Virginia.
It is.
How's your day been?
Busy, hectic, a little bit. Yeah.
And you fitted us in as well, which is really good.
I don't know what's going on in my brain. I've got too many things going on at once. So.
Well, it's good to have a bit of Wicked on a Sunday. So I must welcome everybody that's joining us in the chat room. Welcome to Wicked Women. Number 23. We are almost at our year. There is going to be a special Wicked Women because we're almost at our year of when we began. Can you believe that, Val?
It's hard to believe.
That year has just flown by.
Yeah.
We had a difficult time and a difficult start and ups and downs, but hey, we've almost made it to our birthday, which is really good actually, considering what we've all been through, you know, in the last sort of year. It's not been the easiest. You're joining us here. I'm coming live from London. It's 10 o'clock in London. Val's coming live from Virginia, where it's 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. So my Sunday's almost over. Yours has still got a bit more to go.
A little while.
Just a little while left to go. I want to say hello to Kylene and Sandra and Alison. I'm trying to read them all. Queen of Hearts to Viking, to everybody that's joining us in the chat room. We have an interesting topic tonight, but every day, every week is interesting. Let's be honest. Fickle love.
Been there.
Yeah, and it's not just love. We're not just talking about love. We're talking about fickleness all the way around. Be it what kind of relationship you're in. And I wrote some few notes down here. She puts the glasses on. And an interesting thing is, love is a very powerful 4-letter word. It's so powerful. It's also deadly. They write plays and sonnets and poems and books and movies and songs about love. And I'm just going to say, love is all that matters. What is love? It's only love. What's love got to do with it? Love is all you need. Burning love, etc., etc., etc. Though that
men go to war for love.
So. They do. They do. It's a very powerful. Love is the first of 7 emotions that the human soul contains. It's the first.
Yep.
And it's an interesting point to remember. Love is the major ingredient of the heart. It's what the heart does. It's to love. And when we talk about love, we're talking about the activities of the heart. And then when you bring in, and I'm going to come to Fickle in a minute, love is the product of kindness. And kindness is the desire to want to give. I want to give you love. I want to show you love. Without kindness, nothing would happen in the world. And then we come to Fickle. And it's a great word, fickle. Actually, I'm going to say it comes from the Old English word fickle, which means deceitful. Fickle before it changed to fickle. Fickle, meaning deceitful. Fickle is inconsistent, not committed to something, likely to change due to a caprice, resolution, instability, casually changeable, not consistent, or loyal in their infections. So for instance, you have a friend, you're really good friends with them, and they hang out with you all the time, and the next minute they don't like you, they don't want to be with you, don't want to see you anymore, and the next minute they come back and they want to be with you again. It's like everything's fine now. Let's spend time together. It's all about being fickle. You cannot rely on fickle, but the one thing you can rely on is for them to be fickle, if that makes sense.
Consistent.
Yeah. You can't rely on them because you know they're fickle, but you can rely on them to be fickle. Now you put the two together, fickle and love, very different elements that actually don't balance each other. And Val, you and I have both, we've both experienced this in our life, and we're looking at all areas here, not just relationship.
Right.
What's one of your experiences of somebody being fickle and showing that?
Well, I mean, I guess you could probably say it with almost all of my past relationships, because it was always ups and downs, and they were never consistently one way. It was always, whatever suited them at the time. It's almost like this day they were, the perfect person. You loved hanging out with them and all this. The next day it's like, really?
Yeah.
What changed so much in 24 hours? Because they were totally, distant, didn't want to talk, didn't want to be around, didn't, and then it could be totally opposite the next day.
Yes.
So it was always roller coasters.
And I think we got a new term for that. It's called emotionally unavailable.
Right.
I think a lot you find that quite, as Queen says here, they love or want you when it's convenient for them, 100%.
Yeah.
And throughout my life, I have had those experiences of where you have friends, you have lovers, thankfully not so much in the career area, but it's like people that want to be on your coattails, or people that want to be with you for what you can give them, what you can provide for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be many different areas.
I think one of my main relationships was, I kind of helped him get his house in order. I helped him with personal matters, kind of got it stable in the household. And then he didn't really need me anymore. So his personality completely changed. And it was more, the relationship was more of me being afraid that I wouldn't find someone else. So I'm like, you know, I can't, I don't want him to leave because I'll be by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, in hindsight's a wonderful thing. But it's kind of that. Okay, you can do this for me, so I'm going to act this way until I get this done, and then you can stay if you want to. You know, it wasn't a I need you now that this is done. I still need you. It was I need you for a reason instead of just because you're you.
And I think what it is that some people do not have, how can I put this? Some people may not have the opportunities or the confidence to, or the ability to, to be where perhaps I'm using us an example to be where we've been in our life. Maybe they wanted to be like us or want what we've got, or etc. etc. And so, for instance, I grew up with many female friends in my time.
Right.
I'm a sort of person, I'm very much a giver in my friendships. I give and I give and I give. And nothing's too much trouble. But I think when I've hoped, and I use the word expectation because you do expect, I think, and hope to get it back from your friends.
Sure.
It didn't come, and it was kind of like every time was a smack in the face until I got to that point in my life where I went, no more. Because it's like you're being used for, as you said, what they can get out of you, what you're
Right.
providing. And it may not be a material thing. It may be an emotional attribute. It might be the fact that there's something that they're getting from you. I think we used to call them, and it's an old term, a leech. Some people can be a leech and they will suck you dry or suck bits and pieces off you. And
Yeah.
it makes them feel better. It makes them feel like they've got, they sort of feed off you. And it's very draining. I find
Oh,
it
yeah.
incredibly draining because you just think, you look back and you go, and it's always with me, it was always my closest female friend. It was always the person I thought was the closest to me. And it took me years, and I'm talking years, before I had a best friend that I knew had my back, wouldn't stab me in the back. And no matter, even if we disagreed on something, still had my back and still
Well,
would tell
yeah.
me face,
I mean,
and it's years.
and I think we all need that security to know that no matter what you tell this person, it's not going to get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to stay where you want it, you know? And a lot of times I don't even think that we necessarily need advice or what to do. It's just the fact of being able to tell somebody and know that that's where it stays.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with that security, because when you're in a relationship with someone like that, first of all, you're afraid to tell them anything because either in the past you've told them something and it's come back to bite you, or you're insecure about how they're going to react, or you think, well, if I say this, what if they leave? Or it's that worry that you're going to say the wrong thing, or you know that security of knowing, okay, this is how they're going to be all the time, not waiting for that special time when they're in a good mood and they're going to treat you the way you want to be treated. And then the next day, it's not the same way. It's that up and down roller coaster.
It's that inconsistent, but it's also like, how can you be friends with someone when you know, when you've seen it time and time again that they just disappear, they just ghost you, or they might just disappear, or they wanted to play with you while it suited them. They wanted to play with you while it suited them because the other parts of their life, they were alone, they were empty, they didn't have so much going on in their life. They had time to be with you. And don't get me wrong, we're all busy. We've all got
Sure.
times in our lives where we have to limit our interactions with other people. But, you know the one where, that you've been there for them night and day, you've been on the end of the phone, and all of a sudden, hello? They're not there, or they just disappear. They've gone to spend time with other people, and of course they can do that. Everyone can do that, but it's also keeping consistent to the friendship and relationship you've got with them. You can still go off and be with other people and do other things, but it's being consistent and realistic and down to earth with the friendship you've got. I want to use this example of my closest friend, and she's just finishing up a 2-year diploma. I think that's right, or 2-year bachelor's. Actually, I should get it right. She'll kill me for that. It was very hard it's been very hard for her to have a normal life because it's study. And our friendship and other friendships of hers became very, very stretched, like elastic bands, because, she couldn't be the friend that we all wanted her to be in the way we wanted to be. And it improved problems, but we worked through it. And, our friendship is still there. And as I say, the trust is there, that bond is still there. But some of the people I'm friends with in my life, it's like we're there on the phone, constant, videoing, phone messages, whatever. It gets further and further and further away, and you're just like, and it's the same with a love relationship. Before we come to family, a love relationship, the emotionally unavailable person, and you think someone. You think you're going somewhere with someone. They give you all the words. I want to be with you. We're going to make this work. I want this to happen. And then one day, gone. Just gone. Or becoming distant. And it's like, but you said all that. And it's very dangerous because it plays with your head.
Yeah. Well, it plays with your inner self. And it shouldn't, but it causes you to think something's wrong with you. When in reality, that's not really the case. I think for a long time, it always made me think, okay, what have I done wrong? Why are they acting this way? What could I have done different? Things like that. Now, looking back, sorry, the cat just fell out the window. I realized it wasn't me. I think in every relationship that goes wrong, it's two-sided. I'm not saying I had absolutely nothing to do with us not being together anymore, but I think it's more one-sided than the other. I played a part, but it's almost like I can't keep up with your moods, or and then one day they'll say something, do something, you feel like $1 million. The next day they can bring your ego and your self-worth way down. And then you think, okay, you haven't called me, messaged me in 3 or 4 days. You won't answer my calls. What did I do? But in reality, it wasn't what I did. But it makes you think that. It makes you think that you're doing something wrong instead of them just being a fickle person.
Well, I mean, Sandra's put in a good point. A girl at school used to bully her, but outside at school, she tried to be her friend. And you wonder why she tried to be her friend. Was it because it would more emotionally damage her because she would be so confused? 1 minute you're like this, 1 minute you're like that. Or
Right.
was it the fact that outside school, she was a completely different person? And yes, although we're looking from women's side, men absolutely experience these events and emotions as well. And Queen writes, the hardest pill I've ever had to swallow was me realizing I was chasing after someone who was running away from me, but occasionally looking back to see if I was still there. And I was every single time. And it's a good point. Right now we're in Mercury retrograde. We've just gone into it. And in Mercury retrograde, it tends to bring back the past. It tends to bring back people from the past, issues that haven't been sorted, things that need to be said, as well as other stuff. And I was chatting to a couple of people today, and they've all been telling me they're hearing from exes. They're hearing from people.
Please don't let me hear from mine.
They're hearing from people from the past going, we need to, I didn't treat you right. I didn't, I'm sorry I didn't treat you right. And I think the most important thing to realize that being inconsistent, being indecisive affects other people. There are consequences for these actions. And
Absolutely.
you damage someone for someone else, because what happens is if you continue to have friendships or relationships that are like this, what will happen is you'll look at everybody else and you'll go, how can I believe in anyone? How can I, because all I've had so far, and there are a lot of people that will use you, they will take what they want. I'll bring up this from Jason. It says how appropriate this is to my current situation. I look back now and for instance, when you're at work, I studied to be a hairdresser when I was young, obviously, wanted to do that, couldn't do it in anymore. And I had a girl that I worked with, and she would always want to take credit for something. And I'd be like, but it was both of us, or it was one of us doing it. And it was always like, they would put themselves. And that's obviously a very insecure person, or a person who wants to have the credit, because a lot of people need a lot of, what's the word I want to use? Reassurance, affirming. And sometimes when people hang around with you, it's because, we've all seen people like in the playground, using this as an example. You've got someone who's very confident, very, sporty, or perhaps bubbly or fun, and they've got the hangers on who are hanging on because of what they're going to get out of it. And your parents say to you, they're just using you. They're just using you for what they can get out of you. And you're like, no, they're not. They're my friends,
Yeah, they're truly my friends. They really want to hang out with me. But really, I know in high school, when you have the cliques and you have the popular people, and the other kids try to befriend the popular people, even if it's the lowest on the popularity, just to get invited to, the parties, get to go and just hang out with the popular people. I myself was never popular, but
I don't believe that at all.
I don't. I was, but I was like the wallflower. I was friends with everybody, but hung out with nobody.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was not the popular girl at school. I was very insecure.
Yeah, I was too.
I was tall, one of the tallest in the school, and I was so insecure that I would grow my hair so it was over my eyes, and I would just kind of look out the Princess Diana, like you sort of look out over your eye, around your hair, like and I would want to make myself smaller so that people, because I was bullied at school as well, like I didn't want to be available for the popular
Yeah.
people, for the, you know, the people that everyone wanted to be
Yeah.
like and looked up to, you know, I didn't have that. I didn't go and hang on someone, because if I was on that side of the team, it made me more popular.
Yeah.
I just did my own thing. A lot of people don't have the courage, like what we're doing, like we're doing a podcast.
Right.
A lot of people don't have the courage, and understandably,
Sure.
to do it. It takes a lot of guts. I always say that to everybody. It takes a lot of guts to put yourself out here.
Sure. Yeah.
And you know, anything can happen. You know, we're public fodder. What's the word? Public
Fodder.
yeah. But somehow, as the weeks have gone on, we've become more confident in it. And as time goes on, it gets easier. But some people don't have that.
Yeah.
And so they kind of, do you find that jealousy, that's a good point I want to use. I'm not talking about the podcast, but in general, do you feel like jealousy, insecurity are what help also someone be fickle?
Sure. Not that I have any trouble with anybody being jealous of me, but, you know, I could see how, you know, someone who wants to do certain things but kind of afraid to do it could be jealous of, you know, us, what we do. You know, maybe it would turn to, you know, that jealousy would turn to anger or something like that towards people that actually do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they just don't have the backbone to do it. Like I said, I don't think anybody's ever been jealous of me, but, you know, I could understand being that way, you know, even if, say, your mate has an ex that is amazing, and then they break up and he starts dating you, I think you would feel some sort of jealousy or that fickleness towards his ex because they were, you know, if they were successful in doing what they did and you're not, then you would feel that insecure jealousy, thinking, well, I'm not as good as they are. But in all truth, it's everybody is their own, you know, person. You don't have to be the same as them to be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to be a success in what they're doing to be just as good as they are.
I also think as well, though, it's so easy to be fickle in some ways, because in today's society as well, far more. You know, let's look at the world of dating. You know, you go on a dating app and it's like you've got 2.5 seconds to make an impression before they flick you off and go and see someone else. And then you could start talking to somebody and you're starting to build up, which you think is a rapport and a connection. And the next thing you know, they've seen someone maybe prettier, maybe younger, maybe sexier, whatever. And it's like, oh, look, I've gone, I want to play with that one now. There doesn't seem to be in the world today consistency. It's very easy to just be a throwaway, a better friend, better lover, better, you know, better relationship. And it's, when we talk about being fickle, it means, you know, sometimes you'll date someone and people go, you really don't want to do that. You really don't want to date them, right? You really don't want to do that. Because if you do, you know, this is what they're going to do. And you think, oh no, I can be the different one. It'll be different with me. They'll be different. And they go,
I can change them. Famous last words.
Jason, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. you
Yeah.
know? And it seems like is it just me, 'cause I'm getting old, but does it seem like that happens, way more now than it ever used to?
Because it is so different now. We can just go like this, and we don't
Mhm.
have to talk to anybody. Social media has made it easy to just go delete, block, block, block. I
Yeah,
find, unless there's a very good reason for doing it, like for instance they're dodgy, or they're emotionally unstable, or whatever, they're toxic, whatever, people block. They don't even have a conversation anymore. It's like
yeah.
you're talking to, I've got a friend, and he was saying to me he was getting on with someone. He had a couple of dates, then it was going really well. He was chatting to them, and the next thing you know, they were blocked. And he said, we've not even had an argument, we've not even had a disagreement, they blocked me. And he said, I went from being like, we're going to see you in 2 days time, we're going to do this. And it's like, do you people realize how painful it can be to be blocked? How cowardly, and I say this again, how cowardly it is to block someone, to ghost someone, which causes consequences for the person who's been blocked.
Oh, yeah.
Then actually be the man or woman you could be, and actually turn around and say, look, this is how it is, which we used to do earlier. We used to
I
do.
started to say, but if before we had, all this social media, we talked to people, like, in our town.
Mm.
We didn't really talk to people long distance. I'm sounding extremely old right now, but it was local,
Yeah.
and you could possibly run into them. So it was a lot harder to just ghost somebody because
Yeah.
you might run into them.
Mm-hmm.
Now we talk to people on the other side of the world, and it's very easy to just ghost them.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because all they do is press the button.
yeah, so I think that's one thing that has changed a lot. Um, because if you're dating and talking to someone in your own town or fairly local, you know, you're more apt to just run into them, or they're gonna come to your house because they know you. When you're talking to someone online and they're from far away, you don't have that worry that, "Oh, they're gonna show up at my house." So you really don't have to give them an explanation or, you know, break up with them, so to say.
I
So
think it's
it's
also like, what's the problem about if they did come to your house anyway? Because in the old days, people did go to each other's
yeah,
houses. You can't even go to someone's house now out of the blue unless you ring them first and go, is it okay if I come and see you? What? Well, you should just knock on the door and go, can you come out? Can we do it? Well, this is what I'm saying. What you're saying is you're right. People are just don't need to talk to them. Block. I can just ignore them. I can keep an eye on them on social media, so I don't need to speak to them.
yeah, I mean,
Watch what they're doing.
it's so easy to not talk and to ignore someone because you don't have to worry about them showing up.
Mhm.
They don't know where you live,
Yeah.
and if you block them, you don't have to worry about them calling you. So you can just disappear.
Mhm.
But it and in some cases, that's a good thing if they're, like a creep or something. But I really think if 2 people have been talking and just cannot it's just not there,
Mhm.
it's just it's just morally right to speak to them and officially say, "I don't think this is working out," or whatever, and that's,
Yeah.
it's over. Because if someone doesn't know why, I mean, you could have, of course, they're gonna think, "Well, did they die?"
Mhm.
Or, you know, "What happened?" if they don't tell you.
Well, I think it plays with your head,
Yeah.
100%. I've been in a situation recently. Somebody I'd come to care for very, very deeply, uh, got on incredibly well with, and slight disagreement, and the next thing you know, nothing, just just gone,
Yeah.
and you're like, I'm not even worthy of a text message which takes 2 minutes to send that says, I'm sorry, blah blah blah, or I don't want this, or can I do this, or whatever.
Right.
You're not worthy in their eyes. Or do they not have the courage, or I mean, I want to use the word bollocks, to actually do that, have the bollocks to actually, especially when in their personal life they come across very, I'm a strong person, I can deal with this, I've got my shit together. Not
Yeah.
really, because when the going gets tough, you just disappear. And surely if you've got your shit together, you deal with the situation in hand and go,
Right.
okay, this is what I'm going to say. And I think people are so easy to go, bye-bye, and just delete you. And it says more about them for ghosting you and
Hmm.
ignoring you than it does for being fickle, actually, than it does about you. But why are we drawn to so many emotionally unavailable people now, Val?
I think maybe it's because there's more emotionally unavailable people out there.
But where did they come from? Where
I
have they
mean, I think
gone?
it's main, and I think a lot of times it is because we tend to do everything online. Hardly anything is in person. So everything has gotten so impersonal that most people, or a lot of people now, grew up that way.
Yeah.
So they don't feel the need to, you know, call people and actually talk to them, or meet someone and talk to them. It's all on social media, and it's just so impersonal
I
that
mean,
it does, they don't feel the same way. They don't feel bad because I don't have to see you. So
I see your cat wants to join in. Queena says, I'll never understand the ghosting or disappearing thing. Put on your big kid pants and be honest. Break up with someone or tell them you're not interested if that's the case. Be a
right.
fucking adult. And 100%, I see that, because it's like you go through this. Where are they okay? Are they still alive? What's happened to them?
Yeah.
Do they not want to talk to me? Do I leave them alone? What did I do? Was it something I said? They told us that we can always work through things and talk through things. That's a load of bollocks. People just use a lot of this, right? And not a lot of actions to back it up. And that's why I've always
Yeah.
been big on, don't say things if you can't back it up. If you don't walk the walk with the talk, then just don't bother doing it, because it's so easy to say
Yeah.
to someone blah 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 and actually not doing it. And I think that we are breeding a different kind of humanity now, where
Yeah.
before we had different values, different morals, different ways of being. And if someone ghosts you in a relationship, or disappears, or stops talking to you, whatever word you want to use it, you damage that person in one way. You damage them for
Yeah.
someone else.
Right.
Um,
Because they're well, and especially if many past relationships were the same way, then when you finally have somebody who's not going to do that, you automatically think they're going to.
yeah.
So you treat them as they're the same kind of people that you've been dating.
And everybody says, oh, but you shouldn't judge, don't treat me just because everyone else did this to you. Don't treat me like that. And you're like, well, hang on a minute. Have you seen people these days? Everybody seems to be, well, pretty much 90% of the population seems to be more fickle. They just, and don't even get me started and I'm going to say this because it's one of my bugbears. I'm too busy. I've been so busy. I'm so busy. I've not had the time to send you a message, to pick up the phone, to even send you anything. I'm so busy. I'm so important. I'm so busy. Everybody has a phone in their hands these days. Everybody. You take it to the toilet, you take it to bed with you, you wake up with it, you go to sleep with it. There is no excuse unless you're very, very sick or ill, dying, or you're having depression or something like that. Fair enough. I can take some of those on board. But pretty much there's no reason not to send, I'm not feeling too great. I'm sorry I've not been in touch, or I don't want this anymore. There is no excuse unless you have, as I said, a mental health reason, or like with depression, you can shut yourself away. I appreciate that. If you're really, really sick, I understand too. But from a normal point of view, there isn't. And yet they don't realize the people they're ghosting are walking around going, what have I done? Like, what did I say? And if you try to reach out to them, it seems to push them away even more. What has happened to us as human beings that we don't stand in our power? And they say, I deserve better treatment than you're actually giving me. And we don't tend to do that because we're too frightened to say that in case it pushes them further away.
Yeah. I think that's one of the main things. I can only speak from experience, but I know in my past relationship, I was afraid to, say how I really felt about things because I thought, well, he's going to leave. If I say exactly what I think, he's going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back on it, and, now the first sign that he was going to do what he did to me for 5 years, he had been gone anyway.
Yeah.
But at the time, the state of mind I was in was, I have to do everything in my power so he doesn't leave.
Yeah.
And, like I said, it took me many years to get to the point I'm at now, which is totally different. But that was my state of mind at the time.
Mm.
I can't be alone. So I have to do everything to keep him from leaving.
But we're also we do accept lesser behavior. I speak from experience. Like, I have put up with situations because I've been too scared to say something in case, as you say, they get angry, they disappear,
Right.
whatever. So I'm not being true to myself. And love, for instance, is, love is impossible. To love another is impossible if you don't love yourself first.
Exactly.
And we keep coming back to this, and it's very much that mumbo jumbo 90s thing. You got to love yourself. We're not taught to love ourselves. Certainly Generation X was not taught to love themselves. We was like, you don't talk about that. That's very selfish. You can't be like that.
Well, I think we were taught that we needed to look a certain way and be a certain way to make people like us, instead of being ourselves, and the people who like you are the true friends. The people that you attract by being yourself are your true friends.
Yeah.
Not the people you attract by acting a certain way or looking a certain way that is acceptable. I think, I really think we had too much put on us to look and act a certain way.
Yep.
And, as far as dress and actually our body shape and everything, it was looked down on to be just who you are and not worry about it. It was so looked down on that we all tried to act a certain way and be who we thought we should be, mm-hmm. instead of who we really are. And I know that's I mean, as for me, that's the way it was. I tried my best to be, you know, just like other people instead of myself. So I was extremely different when I was in high school
I
than I
mean,
am now.
same as me. Very, very different. Very, very shy. Very insecure. It took me years to sit into the body that I am now, and even now I
Oh
have
yeah,
moments. I agree where you're coming
yeah,
from, because this is what happened to me. You know, I was with someone and they slowly start backing off, and then they just get quieter and quiet and they disappear. And you just think, what? I'm not even, in your eyes, I'm not even worth a text message to say I'm sorry. Um, and I think it's the most cowardly thing. And I'll say it again, anybody who's listening, please don't ghost someone unless they're violent, toxic, abusive. Don't ghost somebody.
it's
Stand up
it's just
in your power.
rude. It's
Stand
just
up in your
rude.
power and say, I don't want this, or this is the reason, or I can't do this, because it affects us. Years and years go past and you're like,
Yeah,
you know, I've known people that bumped into somebody and they go, why did you do that? And they go, and they have to face it. They have to face their demon. Finally, surely
yeah,
it would be better to just face it now. Sandra says, I was being ignored, no texts or phone calls. And you, first of all, you reach out to them, because you do reach out to them, go, you okay, what's going on? And then, you know, they don't always answer, or I was busy. If I hear that word anymore, you know, I've got my phone in my hands 24/7, but I was busy. And Carlene says, what if the person tried to reach out and you decided not to reach back? I think it depends on the circumstances and how many times that person reached out and how they reached out. If you
yeah,
really want to get hold of somebody, you will continue to reach out. If there's a reason to, if you've had a disagreement or a fight and you want to make it better and you feel like you're in the wrong, you reach out.
yeah,
You reach out to that person. If there's just been like you've gone separate ways and you want to do something about it, you could send them a message. Listen, like, we're not talking to each other, or we're not seeing each other as much. I want to change that. What can we do about it? I think also people tend to use social media as a way of keeping in touch with people, so they know what's going on in your life, but actually you have no idea. I mean, I don't put, apart from things about Henry or whatever and occasional stuff, I don't put things about what's going on with me. You won't know that I'm dating someone because I will not put it on my page until I'm
I
100%
rarely put
sure.
post
You won't
anything
know.
on Facebook. I mean,
Me
I
too.
might repost something when Facebook lets me. That's
Yeah.
why I didn't do my show last night. I'm apparently restricted for another 3 days.
Wow.
Don't know why, but they restricted me for 6 days. No
I
idea why,
absolutely
but
understand that, Jason. I have had that answer to messages, text messages, answer to them, then taken off Instagram, then just no answer to messages, just gone, and then eventually 4 or 5 weeks down the line, blocked. And you're just like, what? And to me, it's like I'm just not like that. I don't work from that way. It's like, if I have a problem with you, I'll tell you,
yeah,
and face the demon. If you don't want to be with someone, like what Jason is saying, if you don't want to be with Jason, have the balls to tell him and say,
yeah,
listen, it's not for me. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I know this is going to hurt you. It's not a nice thing to hear, but I can't do this, because otherwise it leaves him in that limbo.
Well, it's so much more. I don't know if humane is the right word, but it's so much more. You know, I don't know the word other than that. It's just so much better to tell somebody, get it over with, and that way, if they continue to message you
Yeah.
and you don't want to, then block them. But tell them first. You know, because when you're on the receiving end, it's like,
It's torture.
what's the deal?
It's
You know,
torture.
you're left with that
Right.
big question mark.
Yeah.
If they just said, I don't think we're working out, I need to say goodbye or whatever. Then if they do all that, you understand. At least you know why they're not talking to you.
Because you can't sleep
Mhm.
easily. You can't eat easily. It's on your mind all the time. It hurts. I mean, people don't realize that we have brain cells in our heart. We actually have brain cells in our heart, like we do with our lungs and liver and gut, etc. And so, what's going on up here is also going on in the heart. And vice versa, which is why
Yeah.
you tend to get sick when you're hurting. When you hurt someone, or you disappear out off the face of the earth and just go into the oblivion,
Right.
uh, your heart physically hurts. You have physical pain,
Mhm.
and it hurts so much that you can't sleep, you can't eat, you're emotionally a mess, you're constantly checking your phone, you're constantly going over in your mind, what did I say, what did I do, but I thought I did this, what about this, what about that. It is wrong to do that to another human being, and yet it seems to be okay to do this over and over again. And in friendship as well,
Mhm.
friends do this as well. Like, we've all got friends and you don't see or hear from them, they just disappear. And all of a sudden, boom, they're back. And you're just like, oh, hello, where you been? Oh, yeah, no, I've just been busy, doing this, that, and the other. So busy. And you know what happens is you start to move away from them yourself, because you start to see the fickleness in them.
Yeah.
And you start to then just move back and go, I care about you, I love you, but you're not consistent. You're
Mhm.
not you're not decisive. You're not consistent in this friendship. I'm the one or that's holding this friendship together. And to have a successful relationship, whether it's friendship or lovers, you have to have a balance.
Yeah.
One of you is giving more and doing more of the work, or reaching out and doing more of the communication, and being and the other one's being more fickle in that department, it's not going to work.
No.
I'm going to bring up Carlene's comment, because she wanted us to look at it. What is family? That's a very difficult situation, to have a fickle family member.
I mean, I think we all have those family members,
Yeah.
but it's a different kind of hurt. It's a different kind of feeling,
Mm-hmm.
because you think, you know, we're family. We're supposed to be close. Uh, I know a lot of my family members have moved away, have their own life, whatever. We talk very little. But, if I did call them or if I did message them, it wouldn't be ignored.
Yeah.
I think we all have our own lives, and a lot of times that gets in the way of maybe that consistent message or call. Sometimes you can't, keep up with that on a regular basis. But that goes for friends also. I mean, I have friends that I don't talk to for months or years, but when I do talk to them, it's like you just pick up where you left off.
Mm.
Then I've had other friends that, you know, constantly talk to me, and then all of a sudden, maybe they've started dating someone
Yes.
or something, and it's just gone. They're just gone. So I think it could go as far as family. I don't think we as family units are as close as we used to be a long time ago.
No, we're not.
Um, but you have to think that, like when my girls, I don't talk to them all the time. I always say good night. We always say good night, but I may not talk to them all day long.
Mm.
But, I know if I did message them or call them, they would answer.
I
They
mean,
would
I can understand, like when my dad, when I was young, and my dad, my parents were divorced, and my dad would get a new girlfriend. I wouldn't see him. I would not see him. But not only that, he sadly would put me, in a very difficult position sometimes,
right,
where if you don't do this, then I'm not going to do this. If you don't come and meet this, I'm not going to do that. And I had to pull away from that, even at a young age, because I realized that that's not how it should be.
right.
And Queen writes, it causes so much damage, so much pain. They have to know what they're doing. So do they not just care? I know my ex seriously knows that he's hurt me. How could someone be so cruel? And I think you're right. It's a cruelty.
Yeah,
I want people to know right now, if they're watching and listening to this, if you are doing this to somebody, if you've done this to somebody, you are damaging someone. That doesn't make you a very nice human being. If you have to block someone because they're abusive, as in constantly being abusive, toxic, or stalking or anything like that, fair enough. But if it's just like you just kind of splitting up, or you don't want to see them anymore,
yeah,
whatever, just don't do this, because it causes damage. And as I said, it doesn't, how easy is it to send a text message to say,
right.
but they probably don't want to send one, because if they do, they then got to answer for their actions, because but the other person's going to come back and go, but I don't want this, why are you doing this? And
Well,
they don't want to talk about it.
I mean, I've had friends of mine to message me and say, say all that stuff about, you know, well, you're not talking to me, blah, blah, blah. And before I can answer them, they've blocked me. So they say what they want to say and then block you so you can't answer.
Yeah.
Which actually is better than just not than ghosting someone, because at least I know how they feel.
Yeah.
And then, okay, all right, you blocked me. I wasn't gonna message you anyway, but you know, it's even if you do not want them to answer you back, at least say why, then block them. It's not a big. It's not a. It don't take 2 seconds more to tell someone why you're blocking them.
100%. I mean, I just think it's like, why have all these apps? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter or X,
Hmm.
Snapchat, etc., etc., etc. I remember dating someone who before I was even dating them, added me on Instagram because they wanted to see who I was, wanted to see everything. And then it's like you get the whole, I want this, I want to do this, this is going to happen. And, we'll work things through no matter what faults or failings, you work them through. And the next thing you know, it's like, bye-bye. They've just gone. And
Hmm.
I think it is very, very damaging. So when we talk about fickle love, it's not just ghosting and
Right.
disappearing. It's about treating somebody as you want to be treated yourself. How would the person that's being fickle like it if they were being treated the same way?
They wouldn't, believe me. I know, because I tried treating them the same way. They didn't like it.
Yeah, sometimes our own medicine is very hard, isn't it, to take?
Yeah.
Um, and I find that relationships, you're quite right. When they get into relationships with someone or they're involved with somebody, that person takes their time and they're like, well, you should understand I'm in a relationship. What? So you've forgotten how to be a friend? You've
Right.
forgotten how to be, to communicate with somebody? I
I
think
found that a lot of guys that I've been friends with forever, when they start dating someone, I never hear from them. And I'm like, and most of the time it's because the woman doesn't want them talking to other women.
very true.
And
Very
I'm
true.
like, well, we've been friends since like 7th grade. I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened before now. But it's almost like, well, I have to do, I can't make them jealous, or if they're jealous, or if they don't want you talking to someone else, you're just cut off no matter how long you've been friends.
Mm.
Um,
And
and
that
that kind of hurts too. I
hurt.
mean, it does, but there's nothing you can do.
I've, as I say, a good friend, and they were dating someone, and they absolutely hated every woman friend they had. In fact, so much so that they would send abusive messages to us in
Yeah,
our mailbox, and it was like, really, really, and because our friend is sitting there going, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I have no idea why they're doing this." There seems to be, there's a lot of instability and insecurity. As human beings, we have flaws. We
sure.
have flaws, and we all do. And one of them is the ability, some people cannot deal with conflict, and they tend to run away from it.
Yeah,
Others don't like commitment, they run away from it. Others is consistency. They cannot keep up consistency. They want to, they come along with all the gift of the gab, but as time goes along, they cannot keep it up. I just want to bring this point out what Queen says. She says, in my case, I found out there was a lot of lying and cheating, and I think that's why he chose to vanish. If he apologized, then he was admitting to what he did. He's a narcissist. He did nothing wrong. See, that's the thing. I don't know about you, Val, but when they suddenly disappear and stop talking to you, or ghost you, or block you, you're like, is there someone else? Have they met someone else? Is there, is there something else going on?
yeah.
It plays with your head,
Mhm.
absolutely plays with your head, and
Sure.
then you're sitting at home going, I feel sick, I can't eat, was it, and you go through the whole thing over and over again. And one of the reasons I picked the Game of Thrones pictures to show for this week's promo was because it's full of people being fake and fickle to each other in their, wanting the power, sucking up to them, being on their coattails, all the while to get what they wanted. It just seemed to be very fitting to fit it in, wanting the power, wanting to sit on the throne. And do you feel that fickle is different to being fake?
Oh yeah.
In what way, babe?
Yeah, I think Fickle is more, that's your personality.
Mhm.
Um, I think fake is you're trying to you're trying to make that your personality, but it's not actually.
Mhm.
Um, I think the two can go together. Um, uh, in certain relationships, when you first start dating someone, and that first few months is amazing because they're doing everything that you like.
Mhm.
They're saying exactly what you want to hear. They're acting exactly the way they said they were going to. And
Yeah.
then eventually that kind of gets old and it takes harder to keep up that fake persona. then they start showing their fickle side. You know, it's almost like, okay, well, I've got you now, so I can kind of stop doing what I was doing to get you.
Don't need to make the effort anymore.
Exactly, exactly.
And they talk about, you know, and that's the thing, if you know, every relationship, friendship, etc., has difficulties. They have moments where it goes down and it also goes up, and that's where you show your strength, by
Yeah,
working through things, not by running away. Because they honestly, what makes me laugh with this is that they honestly don't think there are other people out there that's going to do it to them,
yeah,
or that they're going to meet fakeness, or they're going to meet fickle. So you obviously think the grass is greener, or you know, whatever. Fakeness, there's this thing about the 3 month rule, isn't there? We've talked about this before.
yeah,
After 3 months, the truth comes out. You see the person for who they really are. Um, I think what happens is you meet somebody, yeah, you're on a high. Your endorphins, your dopamine, is it
dopamine.
that's it. It's going big time. You're happy, everything's
Yeah,
great. And then life kicks in. Life kicks in.
yeah,
Uh, Maybe busy with work, maybe money's really bad, you know, maybe things, etc., like that. And you're right, they've got you. They don't have to make that effort because they've actually got you. And you're still wanting all that stuff because you get addicted. We all want to go back to that high because it's that love heroin, you know,
yeah,
the endorphins. We need to go back and get that. And all of a sudden we're like, why aren't you talking to me? Why are you not answering my messages? Why is the distance between the one message actually getting further and further and further? I messaged you at 11 o'clock in the morning and it's now 6 o'clock at night. Oh, sorry, I was busy. And
yeah,
we all want to get back to that because it makes us feel so good. It
yeah.
makes our bodies healthy as well. It makes us have that glow. All of a sudden, when we get taken away from us, our bodies go into shock. We
Mhm,
start getting the pain in our heart and everything else. It's actually really traumatizing.
mhm. Yeah, and I think, I think it damages a lot of people for longer than
Mm.
they would like for it to. I mean, you know, there's so many scenarios that play out in your mind,
Mhm.
um, when somebody doesn't answer back. And I'm not talking, I mean, I myself, I'm one that somebody can message me, and if I don't see it, or if I'm doing something, you know, I'll message and tell them I'm busy or something like that. But if I message someone, I don't expect a response right away. I'll message someone, and if they don't message back for a while, I'll imagine, okay, they're busy. They'll
Mhm.
message me when they're done. Um, I think it's now. That's me now. Before, all these scenarios would run through my head. They're with someone else. They're hurt. They're, there's some reason that they can't, there's some dire reason
Mm.
that has to be huge for them to not answer me back. And now I'll message someone, and unless I need to know an answer, I just let it go until they message me back. I don't keep multiple message. If it's something that I really need, I might, if they don't answer back, I will call. But I think it's just, see, I'm comfortable alone now. So I don't have that insecurity of someone leaving.
Mm.
I don't have the worry that I'm going to be alone, that I'm not afraid of someone ghosting me.
Mm.
You know, to me, if they're ghosting me, obviously they don't want to talk to me. So more power to you. You know, I don't need that. I don't need somebody that's going to do that. So I only want the people that want to interact with me and want to be around me. If you're going to act like that, that's very childish, and I don't need that. I mean but it took me years and years to get to that point. You know,
I
it
think,
took me a long time to get that secure.
There's a truth in your words, because I think when you do get more comfortable and in your own power and in your own strength, it doesn't touch you as much as it would when you were perhaps younger, or at least in that space. But what Queen says is that I don't wish that pain on anyone, because it is a pain. I am still in that pain.
It takes a long time to go away.
And it has changed me, so that now I don't, I was already hurting and low because of what happened to me last year, losing Henry, and then to have it on top is actually it is more painful. And even though you get up and you carry on, it makes you look at dating going, oh, do I really want to? I can't. I cannot go through one more person coming into my life being fickle, not being consistent, ghosting me, etc. Because we get to a point where we're like, I'd rather be on my own, because as I said in the promo, you see a true person's color when you're no longer beneficial to their life.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't think you're beneficial, you should say to them, look, I know this is going to hurt, etc., etc., but it's not for me. You don't need to waste your time on someone who only wants you around when it fits them because you look good on their arm, or you make them laugh, or let's be honest, you might just want them for sex. You might just want them for sex, because that's
been known to happen.
We haven't looked at that. There are some people that are fickle, and they come out with all this, that, and the other, and actually they just want to, get in your pants.
Hasn't happened in a while, but But yeah, Queen says that she got used to being alone, and now she's so comfortable alone that I think letting someone else in my space would just annoy me, and I'm right there with you. I think I've been alone for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I mean, I was married before. I don't know. It would take me a long time to get used to being, if I ever got married again. It would take me a long time, because I'm so used to being, living on my own and everything. It's, I don't know. I'm so used to just getting up and going when I want to, coming back when I want to, doing what I want to do. It would be hard for me to adjust, I think, if I had someone, if I got married again and had someone constantly with me.
I got in I picked up some some traits of a fickle person, and it says how to know if you are if you have a fickle heart. So I'm just going to pick out just a few of these. So basically, looking at this, it says I'm just trying to bring it up 1 second. We all date people or be friends with people, and we grow out of people. There is a very true saying that we grow out of people. We all do. We've all dated people that we look back and go, I loved dating them at the time, but I'm glad I'm not with them anymore, because they don't, I outgrew them. Our friendship grew, or our relationship grew out. But I also think as well that if you've been with them, if you meet someone and you're completely into them and you're like, oh my God, this person's amazing and I just want to be with them, and they're love bombing you and they're texting you all the time, and then all of a sudden, after about, I don't know, days, weeks, few weeks, maybe even a couple of months, they're like, yeah, not into you anymore. Because they've gone through that high, they've got what they wanted to feed them, and now they're just moving on until the next person they do it to.
Well, I think a lot of people are chasing that high. And I think that's a lot of the reason that the dating sites are so active. A lot of people are on there not for long-term love.
Yes.
They're on there for quick hookups. And which, if you're single and that's what you like to do, more power to you. But don't get with someone who is on there for a different reason.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, those people will actually levitate towards the complete opposite and go, oh, yeah, I really want this. I really want a relationship. You know, this is what I'm looking for. And then they go, oh, hang on a minute. And then we start to move away. Another sign is a classic move is to flake, to be flaky, to move away from someone. You'd rather relocate to a new city or country than face the emotional consequences of your being a fickle. So, for instance, like, you know, you oh no, I've got a block, you know. Why are people such cowards? Have we really become cowards?
Yes, because so many people can, I mean, it's so much easier to hide behind the keyboard and say whatever you think they want you to say when you don't actually have to do it. I think now people are so used to just saying what people want to hear instead of giving their true way they truly feel. Because they think, okay, if I tell her what she wants to hear, you know, maybe I'll get some and I won't have to fulfill whatever I say. I could say whatever. And then I can just drop her after.
Yes.
And it seems to be that, a routine that people go through.
Or drop him. I mean, it goes.
It goes both ways. But I mean, I think too many people on a lot of the dating apps are that way.
Oh, 100%.
And
minefield.
And if they actually had to go and speak to that person face to face, they would carry her in a corner.
And it's normally the people that are full of this, because everyone loves that feeling of falling in love and being in love and having that hormonal high. Absolutely, as you were saying. And then as time goes on and your hormones and everything start to kick slowly back into gear, and you start looking at the person you're spending time with more objectivity, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, hang on, I'm not sure, you know, if this is what I want or something else. So then you find an excuse to not be with them, or you want to, you know. And it's the same with friends, you know. I have friends in three categories. I've got the friends on one hand that I trust with my life. And there's only a few of them, actually. There's a few friends that I trust with my life, and I will trust with my deepest secrets.
Right.
Because they've proved themselves to be trustworthy. Then you've got your associates, people you know, people you spend time with, and you haven't got that kind of relationship, you know. And then you've got the ones that are just like Walter Missy. They're there and then they're not there. That's not really friends at all.
Right.
Like you say, I have a really good friend. I hadn't seen him for a long time. We hadn't been in touch with each other for a long time. And yet when I lost Henry, he had he's got a degenerative spine condition. He's not supposed to drive long hours because he's in so much pain with it. He drove all the way from Manchester, which is a long way, to be with me and to make sure I didn't go through that alone. And he said, because he'd just lost his dog, he didn't want me to go through the pain. I might not have seen a lot of him, but the moment of darkness, he came and was there and picked me up off the floor. That is the sign of a true friend, whether you see them every day, whether you're miles apart, you are there for them in their darkest time. And I'm going to use that very famous saying, if you're not there for me when things are going bad, do not be there for me when things are going good, because you don't deserve to be.
Yeah.
And I will never forget, I had two friends that were there for me, but the fact that he came all the way down, and he put him in bed for weeks afterwards because of driving, not only all the way down, 4.5 hours drive, 4.5 drive back on the same day. And that's what you call in your darkest hours, they're there. Yeah. I think that if anything we've learned from tonight is that there are so many of us, as Jason would testify and Queen's testified, that are still trusting enough to bring someone into our life with the small amount of hope and faith that they will not do what someone else has done to us.
Yeah.
Where do we get that hope and belief from when it's taken from us again and again?
She comes in at the most awkward moments. I think it says a whole lot about someone when they can be hurt over and over, but still they have the capacity and the capability for love. They're still able to open their heart, even though it's been hurt so many times. They're still open to receive that, because there's so many that shut down, and those are the ones that they're, you can't force those walls down because they've been hurt so bad so many times. But then there are some of us that, even though we've been hurt, we still have that open place, to receive whatever anyone wants to give us.
Yeah.
There's many days that I could have just said, forget it, I'm going to be a hermit, I'm never going to talk to anybody else. Mm-hmm. But then someone comes along and you're like, well, you know what, I could see myself opening back up again, a little bit at a time. You're not, once you've been hurt like that so many times, you kind of test the waters, and then you kind of wade in a little deeper, and you stay in those spots until you convince yourself it's not going to happen this time. You don't dive in off the deep end, because if you do, there's that chance that you're going to go through the same thing again. So after you've been hurt so many times, you do take it step by step, and you might say something and then kind of steady yourself for the recoil. But when it don't come, it's a shock. When the same thing doesn't happen again, it's a shock. But then you get used to it, so you go out deeper. and do the same thing. And then you realize that you've healed yourself with each step. And by the time you get to the end, you don't let people do it to you anymore. Does that make sense? You heal yourself as you go.
For me, I think it's more a case that each time it's happened in my life, whether it's friendship, relationship, whatever, it's taken a piece of me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a relationship with my brother, and that's by choice now, because I had to move away from that situation. I think it takes a piece of you, and little by little it starts to chip away, and you start to feel empty and numb and dead. And certainly for me, this recent time, I had very little to hold on at that point in my life. And it was like a light being shown, and for it to, and I think when anyone shows you light, if anyone is there for you, whether it's friendship, whether it's love or whatever, and you're going through a tough time, you hang on to that light, because it's the light at the end of the tunnel that you're thinking that's going to help me through it.
Sure.
When you're climbing out of it, the last thing you expect, regardless, is to have somebody just treat you as if you're nothing.
Yeah.
And I think, as I say to anyone watching this, it says more about you if you're treating someone like that than it is about someone else. Please don't be cruel.
Right. It doesn't take much to not be that person.
No.
And it don't take many words to let someone know why you're not talking to them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason it is.
Or why you don't want to be with them, or why you're not spending time with them, or why you're not communicating with them, because, if it's not a relationship, I think if you have a friend or a friendship or whatever, and you're in touch a lot, you're constant, and all of a sudden it's like, hello, and there's like a big, you do question, like, all of a sudden, well, they've moved on, they don't need me, they're getting stimulated elsewhere, there's obviously somebody else giving them that stimulation,
right.
And it's and then they come back when they're got less on their plate, or they've got more time to show you. You're just like, don't bother. Like, just don't bother coming back, because at the end of the day, how many chances can you, friendship relationships, and we haven't ever looked at the work one, but they're very precious. And if we don't take care of them, they are china in our hands. They will break, and we cannot repair them. Even when my best friend and I had, a disagreement, which could have gone either way, and we've repaired it, there's still, like, you're still healing those cracks. They're still healing. But if you care enough about someone, you will work through those cracks.
Sure.
And there are people at work that will want your job, that will suck up to you so that they get your job, or they get you to look bad, or etc. There are a lot of vampires out there, whether it is emotional, mental, whatever. And as Queen says here, just be a good person. And you might think you're a good person, but I always say, if you're doing something to someone, would you really like that done to you?
Right.
If you're doing
I think if more people thought that way, it'd be a way better world. If you start to do something and you think, well, how would I feel if someone done that to me? Then 9 times out of 10, you're not going to do it. If you just go by that, how would it make me feel if I done that? If someone done that to me.
And you kind of hope that it does happen to them, because I think until it does, they perhaps go, oh my God, that's actually what I did. If they see it that way, if they see that's what they've done to you.
Most don't, though.
No.
I don't think
No,
most
because they
think that
can't.
they have done anything wrong.
They can't, because if they actually see what they're doing, it makes them feel, oh God, you know, I've not practiced what I preached. Queen
Yeah.
says she still shuts the word out. I can take that.
It
And that's saying,
it takes it took me years and years and years to get where I'm at now.
but we don't have the years
But I
now. And
mean, it took
you're
me,
old now.
it took me a long time to get to this point.
Yeah.
It took me a lot of trials to go through, been through a whole lot of bull. But over the past 10 years,
Mhm.
I've gotten to the point where if you want to be around me, this is me. I'm not going to change and try to be someone else, so you will be around me. If you don't want to be around me the way I am, you don't have to be.
Mhm.
Nobody's forcing you to be here. And it's made it so that the only people I have around me are the ones that really want to be here. That love me for who I really am, not for what they think they can get or who they think I am, because I'm always just me.
I
And
think the good point that you brought up earlier on about when you're with friends with someone and then they start dating someone and then they're not friends with you anymore, it's kind of like when that relationship goes tits up, they then want to pick your friendship up again
yeah,
and go, oh, I'm really sorry. And how does that make us feel? Because we're like, well, so now you need me, now you want me.
yeah. It it's one of those things that depending on the situation, but it's happened before, and it happened again. So I just say, okay, yeah, it doesn't. I don't take it personal.
Mhm.
The situation I was talking about. There's certain other ones that I do take personal,
Mhm.
and I'll speak to you, but we'll never be the way we used to be.
Yeah,
It'll never be the
yeah,
friendship it used to be because you screwed that up.
it's a horrible feeling. It
It
really is
is.
a horrible
It
feeling because
is.
your
It's
friend,
it's
you're
a
talking
very but you feel
trial.
very betrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're
But now
chatting to
most
them
of
to
my
come.
friends, we don't talk for months or a year or whatever, and then when we do, it's just like we'd talk from the whole time.
Because you're talking to them, but actually something is missing and you don't
Mhm.
trust them. You know, I have a situation very similar, and it hurts. It
Mhm.
really, really hurts. And I think that what I want in my life as I get older and the years come on is really good quality friendships, good quality relationships. I don't want fair weather friends or fickle friends or people
Yeah.
that just want you for something when their life's going shit. And
Yeah.
then when they're with someone else or whatever, they just disappear. Friends should be friends no matter the distance, the darkness, the tough times. You know, it doesn't take, and you know, I'm as guilty as anyone. Sometimes I don't reach out to people. I don't
Oh,
reach out to people.
me, I'm the
I
same.
I tend to shut myself away sometimes, and you know, especially if I'm still struggling with grieving. I still get depression from time to time, and I'll just shut myself away and recluse. And that's how you know there's something wrong with me, because they're like, Wendy's really quiet. She's reclused herself. There's definitely, people know that. And it can be hard to come out of that. It can be hard to come out. And I also got to that point in my life where I'm like, why am I bothering to?
Yeah.
Why am I bothering to go out there, to put myself out there, and being friends or meeting someone? What's
Yeah.
the point? Queen says here, I just want to bring this point in. Nope, if they hurt me, they don't get my friendship. They can piss off at that point. Love that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on how that friendship ended, or if it ended, or how the circumstance. If someone hurts me and then years or months or years later comes back, I'll be pleasant, but it's not going to be.
No.
It's not going to go right back to the way it was. It's not.
Because it's all about trust and building.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I hope that we've covered some areas that people people can really relate to, and I just wanted to reiterate this, if that's the right word, reiterate or whatever. I always find that word so hard to say.
Reiterate.
That's the one.
I'm surprised I knew that.
I honestly, it's late at night. Bear with me. Love is the first of 7 emotions that the human soul contains. It's the first one. It's the first one. And it's like, it's the most powerful because, you know, we have, as I said, it hurts physically. We can get sick. It can really affect us mentally. Be the change that you want to be. Treat others as you want to be treated. And then the same time is like, don't ghost, don't ignore, don't just be distant and move away. Be a woman about it, be a guy about it, and just face it up, head up, and go, this is how it is. I think there'd be a lot more respect there.
Well, I think that's the one thing that a lot of people have lost. That
integrity,
the respect for others, that I just don't think it's around that much anymore.
And if they treat you like that, if they treating you like it, you kind of hope, like Queen's put this, and I bring this one up. She kind of hopes that karma knows where every one of us live, and it will. What goes around does come around.
It does, yeah.
And it will come back to them and bite them in the arse. And then you just kind of sit back and go, yeah, it's not nice, is it? If you get the chance to see that, you know, all of us have that.
Yeah.
It's been a good subject. It's very much poignant in my life right now. And when I listen to songs, like, you know, as I said, I just wrote that. What's love got to do with it? What is love? It's only love. And it's like, I am so fed up of that 4-letter word. I hope that we've helped somebody or watching it tonight. And I would just say, yeah, again, don't be an arse, don't ghost. You know, if you haven't spoken to someone for a while and you want to speak to them, send them a message, pick up the phone. I'm sorry, I've not been in touch. You know, face it head on if you want to. If not, then just stay the fuck away, right? And let them move on. Val, before we end tonight, do you want to, you know, talk about this week? What's happening this week with all the other exciting ones? Because, you know, here at Wicked Women, we like to promote other people, even if they don't promote us.
You have Ken, and I'm not sure if he's doing 9:30 or 10. If he's still on here, he'll have to type it in. 9:30, 10, Monday through Friday on Morning Coffee with KB.
Ken Ballas on Facebook.
Ken Ballas.
Right?
Yeah. Wendy, I don't know if you all are doing Robertson tomorrow.
Out 10, 9, 8, hang on, 10, your time, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if Ken's coming on at 10 o'clock, that's 5 p.m. in the UK. So Ken Ballas, Facebook, if he's coming on at 10 o'clock in Virginia, it'll be 5
it's 3.
Oh,
3 UK.
3 UK, it'll be 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it's always
5 hours ahead.
It's always worth watching Uncle Ken's show because, you know, him and Terry are just like, you know, Laura and Hardy, really, don't they? They're just some of the things they come
He
out
needs
with.
a big old kettle.
He's got a big kettle and he's
But
got the spoon that goes. I actually see that now. Everybody's doing the spoon. You know, when I said to him from ages ago, God, you got a big wooden spoon now. Everyone's doing it.
yeah,
I will be back on Tuesday. Fingers crossed. I will be back on Tuesday with Scotty and Robertson, 10 o'clock UK,
4 o'clock
4 o'clock exactly
Central.
Central. Scotty and I will be back. We have a really good show, I must say, coming
Mhm.
up on the 16th of April. All being well, a very, very good show. We've got to wait for it, but it'd be really, really good if people can wait for that one. But we will be back on Tuesday. And I think he's on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, isn't he?
I was going to say, speaking of Scotty, he's on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Intrepid Radio. Scotty Roberts on YouTube.
And then there's another show.
And then there's another one that I wasn't able to do last week or yesterday because I am banned. Anyway, if I'm able to post, if I'm able to, do my show, I'm planning on doing one Wednesday probably to make up for last Saturday. And then another one Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's a little late for you, but
it is. I shall be long gone, but I watched it the next day to catch up. But you know what, Val? It's so nice to see you back doing your thing.
Yeah, whenever Facebook lets me.
And we also got to say as well before we come to the other bit, Wicked Women in May is going to be completely different because I have a very hectic month in May. So we may not be here on a Sunday, which will be weird. We will be here in the week, and we haven't decided on the date yet, but we will.
And it may be different days in May, but eventually we'll get back on a schedule. But for the month of May, it'll be a little hectic.
Month of May is a bit hectic. And also, Wicked Women will be back next Sunday. Fingers crossed. We try to be here. It's just the fact that if we have a problem, but we will be here. We have lots of subjects waiting, and then Val and I will talk, and then we'll talk about something. Oh, maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that. But a lot of people have been asking us to do the whole Friends with Benefits one and the whole Bob one. So I think that we will.
We will be
coming up.
We will be doing those, and for the ones that like the darker side, we will be doing the cults.
Yes,
women in cults and the
witchcraft,
the supernatural witchcraft one eventually also. So
we will do that. And but I think what I loved about today's topic is there is people watching this show that are going through this and it's actually resonated. And Jason says, I'm fairly well just about done with it, tired of getting hurt, tired of going through the deep valley of loneliness that happens afterwards. And all I can say is, Jason, you are not alone.
I totally understand. And I think I'm extremely fortunate that mine has lessened immensely.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you exactly how it happened, but all I know is it did, and I'm thankful because it's such a horrible, horrible feeling. Like you said, your heart hurts and physically hurts.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get over. And now, for the past several years, I've just been okay.
I think it haunts me every day.
Yeah.
It haunts me because there's that unknowing. There's that, but you made me believe in you. And that's the hardest thing for me to deal with. They made me believe in them. And for me to believe in someone again has taken a hell of a lot. A hell of a lot. They made me believe, and then they took that from me.
Sure.
And if that's how they want to punish you, it really says a lot about someone, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Because if you want to punish someone, what does that make you?
Well, someone being someone that's went through uh, emotional, mental, and physical abuse all together, the mental and emotional was far greater. It left far deeper scars than the physical because it took me a long time to get over all of them. The physical, it didn't take as long. That stuff heals. The mental and emotional and the scars it leaves takes years and years to heal. And even now, I still have triggers, not near as much, and I can handle them now. But for years, I had triggers that would send me right back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And once I separated myself from the people that were triggering those thoughts, then I was able to start that healing process and have it go all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Instead of you heal a little and then someone else sends you right back to the beginning. So I think you have to, first of all, break that cycle of the same kind of people doing the same kind of things. You have to break that cycle before you're ever going to be able to really start that healing process. And sometimes it takes being by yourself for a while just to get a good grip on it. That way you're not put back to the beginning from every little thing that happens. You're able to step on
I
and
think
heal.
if people realized how much courage it takes, how much strength it takes to open up to somebody, to open your heart to somebody after you've been hurt, let down, abused, betrayed, etc., constantly in your lifetime.
Yeah.
If people realize how strong and how much strength it takes to open up, would they think twice about doing it to someone? Because I actually don't think they actually see us in that way. And that's why they treat us like it, or maybe they just can't deal with it. Either way, the damage they leave for us, that's another little chip in your armor, and you're
I
like,
don't think, well, I think in some cases they just don't care what they do to you. But I think if you haven't been through it, if you don't know what it feels like, it's easy to say to someone, well, just get over it.
yeah,
Just let it go. Because 9 times out of 10, that's what people say. Just get over it and let it go.
yeah.
But it's so much harder to do that than to say it. It's really easy for someone who does not know the way you feel to say, let it go, it's no big deal. But when you've been through it and you've got those deep scars, and any little thing can send you right back, it is extremely hard to just get over it.
And it makes you feel like sometimes you just don't want to get up. You don't want to get up. What's the point? What's the point of getting up? It's what's the point of letting someone else? What's the point? I hear so many people say to me, they go, oh, love, dating. What's the point? What's the point of letting anyone, another arsehole, another one who
Yeah.
doesn't know what they want, another one who just picks you up and puts you down? And as Queen says here, only someone that hasn't felt it can say that. Somebody said to
Exactly.
me, and they didn't mean it badly because they're not a bad person, but they actually said to me, are you over it yet? When it came to Henry, like, are you over it yet? And I was like, no, I will never be over it. I have to live with it. I have to learn to live with it, but I'm not over it. And every day it affects me. And I think that I'm already dealing with pain and hurt, and then to have more pain and hurt on top of that is the human being can only deal. We are wonderful creatures. We can carry a lot on our shoulders like tortoises. We can carry a lot, but actually we can only take so much before our heart or our body or our mind goes, no,
Yeah.
I'm done. And I know people that it's tipped over the edge.
And
I know that.
right. And Queen, I do want to tell you, you're right. Only someone that hasn't felt that can say, just get over it. But being someone that has been through it and kind of come out the other side, I'm not saying that I don't get triggered every now and again, but I've learned ways to deal with that. It does get easier. It gets easier to deal with, and there are ways of kind of rerouting that emotion when you get triggered. It takes years to get over, to get to the point where you're not bothered, but it can be done. And if you have the willingness to do it, it can be done.
It takes
You
time.
can get to that point.
I am not at that point, and I think probably I may never be at that point for a very long time, because some things go deep, and
Sure.
sometimes, as you know, you do your best to move on, but then you can
Yeah.
just be back there in a heartbeat.
I
It's a
mean, one little
very
thing can send you right
yeah,
back to the beginning.
it's a very painful subject,
Yeah.
being fickle. So here's a point: don't be fickle. Don't. And if you know you're fickle, if you know you are, man up about it or woman up about it, or
Mhm.
just don't get involved. Like,
Yeah.
don't promise things that you can't make happen. Don't
Right.
give all this if you can't back it up. And if you do not want to be with someone, just have heart. Just say
Mhm.
to them, this is not for me. I'm
Be an
sorry.
adult.
You're a wonderful person. It's not for me. Or I don't want this anymore. It doesn't matter how much you plead, beg, I don't want it anymore. But either way, I think we all would like to know, just to have that peace of mind. And you know
Sure.
what will happen to us? I just want to end on this part with Queen. It says it does get easier to deal with. Absolutely. I have days where I'm okay, and I have days where I hope the universe puts. I so know where you're coming from. I hope the universe puts me out of my misery, but I still keep getting up every day and doing the best I can. That's exactly where I am in my life. Some days I don't even want to get up, because I just think,
But that will eventually that part will eventually fade. I mean, it doesn't go away, because Lord knows some days I'm thinking the same thing. But those days are a lot fewer far between. Um, I have a lot more good days than bad. Um, I don't get triggered hardly ever now, and when I do, I don't go back, relapse back to the former person that I used to be.
mm,
Um, I can kind of divide and conquer now. So it's not everything just implodes and goes back to the beginning, because it was like that for a while.
but it's also harder to, when you've been there, it's also harder to bring someone else in and give them that
Sure,
chance again,
sure.
because you've got, it's taken you so long to get to that point, to heal, to get to that place, and it's like nobody's coming into my life and making me feel like that again.
But see, that was what I was saying, when you do decide to open your heart back up, you do it in stages, a little at a time. And when you take the first step, you stay on that step until you're comfortable. Then you take another step and you stay on that one till you're comfortable. And the whole time you're doing that, you are um, seeing how everything's going to turn out.
Yeah.
but you're also healing yourself because you think, okay, I'm right here, and I haven't been pushed off of the steps yet. I'm still here. So you heal yourself while you're kind of testing the waters. It's kind of a healing, a healing test, so to speak.
I'm grateful to you, Queen. I don't know what your real name is, but because I can only see a wonderful picture. But thank you so much for sharing so much tonight, and to Jason, because it's hard to admit what's happened to you. We don't talk about it, but you're walking around with it every day, with the dark cloud or the tortoise shell on your back, and some people are just oblivious to what they're doing to you. They're just absolutely oblivious. They're like, I don't know what they're on about. Everything's, I don't know. I think, it's very important that perhaps we should all look at our own behavior a lot deeper. But at the same time, please don't ghost, don't block, don't be fickle. If you don't pick people up and put them down,
Don't be a dick.
We don't like it when it's done to us. Don't do it to someone else. I hope we've helped someone tonight. It's been a great show. Val, as always, my darling, it's a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine.
It's Kristen. Thank you. Thank you, Kristen.
Well, Kristen, I think, it was nice to meet you. I don't think she's been on here before.
Beautiful.
But yeah, we totally know where you're going or where you're coming from, and it does get easier. Yeah, I mean that's don't be a dick.
And we just want to thank everybody for coming and supporting Wicked Women. We are still growing. We are still growing as a podcast. You can find us on Instagram under Wicked Women 888. You can find us on X, Twitter, under Wicked Women 888, and obviously on YouTube at Wicked Women 888.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, share.
We need it.
We need it.
We need it. And tell us what you want us to talk about as well. We're more than happy.
And tell your friends.
Tell everyone.
Tell everyone.
Get the mug. Have you got the mug there? Like the mug,
I've got yours, I think.
We've got the mug, and there'll be the key ring and the magnet and everything else that's waiting to come out.
I am working on the key rings. There's the mug.
I still think it would look good red with white, but that looks fantastic as well. We love you too, Kelly. There's my cup. I'm still waiting for it. Kristen, you're very, very welcome.
I can't really get it through there, so.
No, I know. I'm still waiting for it. But any day now.
Any day now. You will have your painting and your pyramid and your cup and some goodies.
And you know what, Val? Every week, it's so nice to be back doing Wicked Women. We took a little break for a while. We had to. My health is up and down, so I have to listen to that. I can't always do it because I'm not great. And the same with yourself. And people don't realize it, but Val and I actually do have long-term health conditions, chronic ones, and sometimes we're just really bad with it, and we can't do it. But we still try. We get a little bit frustrated when we don't get the credit, because we like to put on a good show. Otherwise, we don't want to put one on.
Right.
So take care, everybody. Take care of yourselves and each other. Val, I love you.
I love you too, and I'm so thankful for everyone on there.
Me too.
Everyone that comes on and watches us, everyone that shares it, subscribes, tells their buddies, all that stuff. We're so thankful. We really are. We appreciate it.
I'm off to Bedfordshire, and Val, have a great evening.
I'm off to the couch.
All right, love. Take care. Lots of love.
Bye,
See you next
guys.
week. Bye-bye.